Welcome to VA Money Matters with Ty. I'm your host, Ty, and I'm a financial coach and also a life insurance agent. And tonight I have an expert with me. I have an expert who is a financial educator, a retirement strategist, financial service professional, and it is the lovely Andrea Griffin Pickrell. All right, and I'm glad to have you tonight, Andrea. Before we get into it, if you got any questions about life insurance or about any of the information we're talking about, please drop it in the comments.
That's right.
In the comment section, and we will make sure we address you and answer any of your questions. All right, now back to Andrea. Andrea, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ty, for inviting me to join VA Money Matters this evening. I am truly honored to be here to discuss such an important and frankly often untold story. So my name is Andrea Griffin Pickrell, and I'm the founder of Imanione.enterprises, LLC. So at Imanione, we specialize in providing personalized financial strategies that help individuals and families achieve their wealth building and retirement planning goals. So we work closely with our clients to create customized budgets, saving plans, and investment strategies designed to minimize financial stress and support long-term strategies. So basically, our mission is rooted in faith-first financial education. In fact, the word Imani is Swahili for faith. We just recently had Kwanzaa, and the last day of Kwanzaa is Imani, which celebrates faith. So when I began to learn about Kwanzaa and how important it was to the African-American community in developing our identities and self-reliance and so many things that are just really important for underserved communities, not just African-American communities, but all the underserved communities, it really felt powerful to me that Imani be the name that coincided with that. I was also at the time a member of a gospel choir that was named Imani. So for me, it all just felt right to call it Imani.enterprises because faith is first in my personal life. And I wanted to help people with the idea of having faith in their finances. Now, it's not necessarily a religious thing. It's more about educating people so that they have the faith to believe that, yes, I can manage this thing called money, these things called finances, and my future.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it sounds like you're very passionate about it, everything you do. And it's a great cause because a lot of times we find that in our community, people simply aren't educated. And that's the biggest pitfall for a lot of people. They just don't have the right tools or resources to get out of their situation or to build that wealth to elevate to other plateaus. So that is definitely a great service that you're doing with your company.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's true. We're all about helping folks in underserved communities, me specifically, because I'm a member. I grew up in that community, and I remember so many of my family members not having a hard time when it came to burying our loved ones. And then it was strange to me when other people did. And I don't think it was just because my grandfather was a pastor. It was because my grandfather was a planner, because he had things in place that took care of not just he and his wife, my grandmother and grandfather, but everyone. Everyone had some way and some knowledge about how to financially take care of one another. And that made such a huge difference. And so that's what we're doing. We're about working in underserved communities and helping them gain the knowledge and tools to build strong financial foundations that basically help them face life's challenges, right? With confidence and keep growing for a brighter future. So that's what we do. That's what I'm here for.
Okay. All right. And I'm glad that you're here as a financial educator to help us, uncover some of the history behind life insurance. I know that's one of the topics for tonight, going through the history of life insurance.
I'm as Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. I was about to kick
I'm
it to you.
so excited. I'm especially excited to explore tonight's topic, historic protection, exploring the untold history of insurance and the Black community. It's a powerful story, and it talks about our resilience and innovation, and it's highlighting the pivotal role that I think these financial strategies have played in our community's journey towards security and empowerment. And I'm looking forward to diving in this conversation with you, Ty.
Okay.
I really appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, so started off, like I said, the history of, insurance. When I actually thought about it, I was like, so at what point did insurance for us come about? Because, we were in America, we talking about American history, right? So, we were slaves. So at what point were, someone was like, let's get insurance for everyone?
Yeah, that actually is really the question. And so, what was really interesting from what the different things that I was researching when I was like, I wonder, one of the things that the agency that I work with, I should say, not for, I'm an independent insurance agent, also known as a producer. And so I work within an agency that helps me work with various carriers, right? So, Columbus Life, Mass Mutual, these are all like companies that
have been
we
around for
work
a long
with,
time.
right? So, Lafayette, North NLG, American National, also known as Anaco. So like they got all these 50 bajillion names. And one of the things that really drew me to First Financial Security, which is my larger agency that I'm affiliated with, is their history of working with companies that were top tier. So you know how when you go to buy a car or a house or anything on credit, you have ratings, right? And the insurance industry rates insurers. So, just like you may want to buy a Hyundai because they're fairly decent cars. But like if we were talking about 15 or 20 years ago, and I'm maybe showing my age, 30 years ago, Hyundais weren't exactly well known and they were still new. And so people had a lot of questions. Is this a very safe car? Toyota, I know Toyota, they've been in the business for a long time and their cars last a long time. Toyota had the kind of consumer agencies that were doing independent studies on them. And so they do the same thing for insurance agencies. So back to First Financial, what they do is they only partner with companies that have the highest ratings, right? With the Standards and Poor and all the other raters. If they're not at an A and up on the different ratings, we don't partner with them. And they have to have been in business for, well, when they first started, they had to have been in business for 100 years or more. And I was like, 100 years or more? And that's really where I began to wonder, I wonder if there are any African-American insurance companies out there. And because I know, we recently saw, it was a superhero show, but it talked about the burning of Black Wall Street, right, in Oklahoma. And a lot of people did not know about that, me being one of them. And I had heard about it because my family, my mom's a teacher. So I kind of think that part of this came naturally coming from a teacher background. And of course, my grandfather being a pastor. So, I kind of get it natural wanting to yuck it up. I began to wonder, where, if Black Wall Street got burned down, how did people still maintain wealth? What did they do? And the answer was life insurance. And really? So, yeah, life insurance. Like, just because you burn my house down, just because you burn my business down, doesn't mean that I am destitute. In some cases, people were, but not everybody. People who had put their money together, and that's where the idea of mutual life insurances came together, where a class of people, group of people, pooled their money and they were able to produce and help one another in this sort of life insurance-esque, and it actually became a class of life insurance company called a mutual life insurance. So when you see a company called Mass Mutual, Illinois Mutual, that is a different type of a life insurance company. So back in 1810, You can believe it. The African Insurance Company was established in Philadelphia, and I believe it was like one of the early Black-owned companies. So we're looking at like early 1900s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, one of the main reasons why African Americans did that is because the freemen, right, those who were not slaves, because you realize that in 1810, majority of the African Americans in the United States were property. So they couldn't buy things. They weren't owners, they were owned. So then those that were owners got together and were like, well, what can we do? And so they used like different organizations. They called themselves like the Freemasons. And I'm looking up the words because I won't want to get it wrong. Okay. Yeah, there's like all this information, and I can go on and on, but a lot of it you can Google, and Google will help you find it out. But you could just go in your, oh no, I activated my phone. No phone, stop it. I'm not talking. Sorry, I have a Google phone.
You are right.
It's like people when they say Siri in their phones, I don't have a Siri, I have a Google. So there you go. You can really look up and learn so much. I didn't even know if I would be able to find the information that I wanted just by Googling it. But I was successful, which surprised me because, I mean, listen, I listened to your conversation with Raymond on Friday. And there is a little, I think more than a little bit of a question about whether the data, the big data, is accurate for us.
That's a fact. That's a fact. I feel like it's a fact because, I mean, the people don't understand, but Google like controls a lot. You be talking about the superpowers because just think about this video. I know we're getting off topic, but this video,
this is actually on topic.
But this video and every piece of video and content, Google or YouTube saves it in this massive storage place. So much so that they could save the content that I made 5 years ago, and I made hundreds of videos, and it's still stored up here free of charge.
Free of charge.
So what storage device or company lets you store stuff free of charge, and why? That's a question, but people don't really think about
why. Because, I mean, as we have seen with many of the political dramas that played out in 2024, people who had made things 15 years ago, back when Google was still quite young, or YouTube, I should say, was quite young, everybody was posting all kinds of silly things. I mean, even I was on a trip in Alaska, and I posted on my personal YouTube page my very first and only experience cross-country skiing. Now, it wasn't particularly scandalous, and it was just me experiencing cross-country skiing in Alaska, which was fun. But that's still out there. I chose not to remove it. But here's the scary part. Even if I did choose to remove it, Google still actually has access to it. So if somebody wanted to deep dive into my past, they could find that information.
Yeah.
Even though I had chosen to get rid of it.
Yeah. Like I said, yeah. So again, it's back to the stuff you search online, you got to understand that somebody controls the data. They say back in the day, I'm talking about history. The first thing they did was burn books whenever they get somewhere because they didn't want people to know the history of before.
That's true.
Who gonna burn Google? They got a lot of history. So they say knowledge is power. They got a lot of history. So again, I think Google is setting them stuff up to be one of those superpowers too with the knowledge.
That's so funny. I just got back from the weekend trip. We just had our Level Up Leadership Conference in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, tell us about that. Awesome. Tell us about that.
I will. And so we have a great leadership team, and they brought in so many leaders. In fact, the team that we are on, Team Resilience, led by Victoria Lee and Corey Vu, won the cups. So we had pictures of like us with the cups. We took pictures on the stage, and yeah, it felt really good to be part of a winning team. Yeah. So I was like, woohoo.
And I would like to say just for a moment, if you would like to be part of a winning team and be with a life insurance company that really takes the time with their, agents, takes the time to educate us, takes the
Yes.
time to offer these
Yes.
training sessions, things like that.
Awesome.
Please also look in the comment section. Right now, I did post a link in there too, and you could start your journey to becoming a life insurance agent with us on our team. If you didn't
Yeah.
know, we're
We
on the
deal with
same team, and we have a great team. Everyone that you have seen come on my channel so far has been part of the awesome team that we have. More to come, but again, if you have any, drive, because I don't want to deal with people that don't have drive, right? If you have any type of drive and you want to become an entrepreneur, take a chance, look at the link in the description, and again, check it out. We'll happily welcome you.
What's interesting about that drive question is not do you have it, but why would you have it? And that's why I chose the historic protection. That's why I chose history, because I feel as if knowing our history gives us an onus, right? We have an inherent personal responsibility. It's on us to correct what's not been corrected, right? I mean, far be it for the 92% of us who tried to correct it in November. But I apologize for anybody who was offended by that comment. So the point being, when African Americans realized that they could not be or would not be insured by the other insurance agencies, because, by the way, there wasn't a stock market until after 1915 or something like that. It was before 1930 when the stock market started. So when people were dealing with banks and money and taking care of their assets, they were talking about life insurance. They were talking about cash. And like Raymond said, the thing about the dollar and the Federal Reserve blew my mind. Okay, so if you did not catch the conversation that Ty had with Raymond on Friday, get into Google, find it. Don't leave now, but watch that. Watch that.
He definitely dropped some jewels. He was dropping gems and jewels.
I was
He
like,
dropped
what? Okay. So kudos to you, Mr. Pretlor. I will say that sometimes you really have to just find your own way, right? When life gives you lemons, you make the lemonade. And so another reason why I brought up the conference is because you said, whoever has knowledge has the power. And we were challenged on the stage, right? We were challenged, and they said, it's not whoever has the knowledge. Whoever applies that knowledge correctly has the power. Whoever properly applies knowledge has power.
That's
properly applied knowledge is power. And I was like, oh. So they was dropping it left and right.
That's a true statement in anything you do. I feel like we live in a time right now where if I wanted to, do anything, it could be I wanted to start a business about X, Y, and Z. It could be I wanted to start a business, food truck business. You know what I could do? All I got to do is ask any of these AIs, and they're going to give me a plan, an exact plan. I didn't start.
That is cool.
It's following me now. But it's going to tell me a plan, and I can follow that plan, or I could just say, oh, that's the plan. So oftentimes we could have the exact roadmap, the exact steps right in front of us, but it's the person that actually puts those steps or follows those guidelines and does the work. I mean, that's in everything. That's in everything. You could be the best. Again, I was telling somebody the other day, I think it was Raymond, after the conversation, because we talked for a little while after, but I was saying that I never wanted to be like a face on YouTube. I never wanted to be doing podcasts. I wanted to work the background, but I knew how to do it, and others didn't move their feet, and here I am. I wasn't the best speaker out of the group of, people that I wanted to do this with, but I kept moving. I kept doing the work, and, look at where I'm at now. I'm hosting experts like yourself, experts like Raymond. I never thought I would be doing that. But it wasn't because I was the best speaker. It wasn't because I was the smartest person in the room. It was because I was the most dedicated and I wanted to keep moving. I was the most dedicated person. So, I mean, that's with everything. Like you said, you got
Well,
to apply.
honestly, when you think about that word dedication, it really has to do with, in my opinion, how smart you are to
Yeah.
keep with the course. Okay, like I know that there is success on this path, so I'm going to stay on this path. One of my favorite classic books is, okay, I have forgotten. It's a Christian book. I have a degree in English literature.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so I went to Wittenberg University in Springfield, Ohio.
Okay.
Springfield, Ohio became somewhat infamous this past year, but prior to it was known for Wittenberg University, which is a really great university. And very nearby is Wilberforce, which is one of our historically Black HBCUs. So I lost my place. What was I saying? I'm so sorry.
You're just talking about the university.
Thank you. So I was talking about the university specifically because I learned a lot about the history of things, and I get so excited when it comes to understanding where we came from to get an idea of where we're going. So, for
Okay.
example, the very first African insurance company was established in 1810. It's called African Insurance Company. It's the African American Insurance Company. They actually refer to themselves as the Afro-American Insurance Company a little later in their history. But 1810, which is really extremely early. And it was the very first African American owned insurance company in all of the United States. And it's founded by Joseph Randolph, Cyrus Porter, and William Coleman. Right? So there's not much really known. There aren't very many surviving images of them, but they sort of like have some sort of visual representation of like three industrious African American men, sort of as the idea of what they would be, what they would look like. But I found that to be fascinating. The idea that these men just kind of did what needed to be done. They just came out of their communities and they realized that the need was great and they went about making it happen. And mostly for what they call mutual aid. That's where they're caring for the sick and helping people get buried, right? Instead of just, people digging holes in their backyards and being buried on their property, they were allowing families to have a community burial and some dignity. And I think dignity is what any and every human person wants. And back in the 1800s, that's what the African American people were fighting for. Ain't I a woman, said one of our writers. And so when you read some of the slave narratives and things like that, Sojourner Truth and things like that, people like that who were writing stories, they had to first prove to publishers that this wasn't written by someone else and like put the Black person's name on it. Like this slave woman actually is intelligent enough to have written the words. And so when you realize that that's the kind of mindset that the whole community of the people in charge, not the majority, because the majority of the population were actually Black people, something like between 6 and 10 million slaves, which was like way outnumbering the white people in the country. So, when you deal with that sort of reality, that really gets scary for the people in charge. So they really were working very hard to sort of keep down by perpetuating these ideas that African Americans were intelligent, that they were not human. They were like lower than human. Even, the history behind that can be found in a very interesting book called The Black AF History Book. And I always say actual facts, the Black Actual Facts History Book, but no one knows what AF stands for. So it's just called the Black AF History Book. And I have a copy of it, the last name of the Harriet, Michael Harriet. I love him. He's funny. And also, if you are like me with ADHD, he reads the book so you can get the audiobook, and he's hilarious. So it's very informative. It's written, it's one of the best textbooks I've ever experienced. So he does mention the insurance companies, and he does mention the mutual organizations that got together to help one another, right? Because they were fighting this like mainstream insurance discrimination. It was systemic, right? Like, hold on, I'm saying was, and there's a certain amount of me that feels a little bit hypocritical because I believe it's still somewhat systemic. But one of the things that I very much appreciated about this weekend's conference is when we had a panel where we had 4 underwriters from 4 of our different carriers speak to us, I decided to be brave. And I asked the chief underwriter of Symetra, a question specifically about how do you, because their topic was big data, and they were saying we're going to be using big data to help us process underwriting so much faster, and people are getting decisions that much greater, and you can get paid quicker and all of that. And I thought to myself, hold on, I know that big data has a bias problem, right? It's well known that big data is data that was aggregated, meaning gathered together and collected and written by people with inherent racial and social economic biases, right? So when I say that, I don't want you to just hear me saying that they're racist or in some way against Black people only. Because when you have an inherent social economic bias, that means anyone under a certain level of income who lives in a certain zip, regardless of this color of their skin, is still considered lower class, right? And therefore not really do the same consideration or a passage as other people. They might be able to come up out because they look like you, but man, I'm just saying. Okay, let me get off my soapbox. I'm so sorry.
You are right. Like I said, I can tell you passionate about everything. At the end of the day, you got some valid points.
Thank you.
Very valid points.
I just go on. But the truth is, when you look at the history of what we were talking about, then I felt bold enough to say, okay, sir, in terms of this, big data that you all are using, what are you all doing about the known bias issues? Because we know that there is a disproportionate number of people in underserved communities who are being turned down and even having some of their information be presented incorrectly because of not only racial bias, but disparities, but health disparities. Like there's this guy named Joel, and I can't remember the doctor's name. He's amazing, by the way, on LinkedIn and Instagram, and he's all over the place, who was like a standout person when he was going through med school. I think he just graduated. He's a superstar of informing the community about racial bias in healthcare. And he, on something as simple as having your blood pressure taken, the machine, when you put in the parameters of the person whose blood pressure you were taking, it had a feature that required you to tell them what race you were. And if you put in African American, the numbers were lower by a significant portion. Well, what does your race have to do with your propensity for blood pressure measurements? And I mean, that's ridiculous. And so the outcry of the greater community as a result of his exposure, maybe not him directly and specifically, like only him, but a good portion, I think, of his activism got the American Health Association and then many of the other groups connected with them to stop that practice. So let's think about, if I am sitting in a room full of producers who are at the top of their game, and I say to the chief underwriter, what are you all doing about racial disparities in underwriting practices? And he says, then you're right, and we are working on it. And then later in a different presentation, he says, I want you to also know we're working on the disparities in credit rating, and we're lowering the numbers so that more people can get approved faster, because we understand that the credit ratings are discriminatory as well. I didn't ask him to say that. I didn't even mention it in my question. He brought it up himself. And I was like, wow. So I think people are hearing us, even if it doesn't seem as if maybe in the media, and begs the question why the media is not talking about it. But again, I'm not going there. They're hearing us and changes are being made. So then it's our duty as representatives, as people who are bringing education to our communities to say, hey, insurance is not what you think it is. You can get living benefits. You can get retirement benefits. You can also leave a legacy for your family. And oh, by the way, you can get Uncle Sam's hand out of your money as well.
Yeah. You was hitting a lot of valid points. Whole lot of valid points. Main thing I picked on at the end, you was like, they know it's wrong. They know certain, cultures have been getting treated wrong for a long time. You don't even have to say it to them. They were like, we know. We working
They
on it.
knew. I was like, see, I didn't say nothing.
Basically, we're slowly making it fair. Basically that's what he was saying,
We're
right?
trying to make it fair. Sorry.
Yeah. But you're right. We have the opportunity and the duty to make sure we educate our community.
It feels sacred almost,
Speaking of educating our community, why was it? I see a lot of times, because I'm on social media, so I see everything. I see, good comments. I see bad comments. Why did someone say life insurance is a scam? It went all the way out again.
No, it's appropriate. It was like, no. So I think the reason
what is that about?
So that is a really interesting pattern of law changes, right? So life insurance being a scam is about a couple different things, particularly since I think probably the 80s to 2000, the 90s to 2000s. It has specifically to do with the changing and the different types of life insurance, right? Because the golden child of the modern life insurance policy is called an IUL, right?
Yeah.
An index universal life policy, right? But even term is appropriate for the right situation.
Yeah.
So it has everything to do with customized needs and regular yearly annual reviews, because every situation changes, right? So I mean, as much as I'm gonna get a little personal, as much as I always want my favorite jeans to fit me, or like my favorite jean shorts, let's just go seasonal, because I live in an area where it goes winter, summer. So I have winter clothes and summer clothes. Every year I pull out the season change clothes and I try on all those clothes, because sometimes things don't fit anymore. So I have to do something about that.
Yeah.
Lose the weight, obviously, because I can fit into it still. Or maybe that pattern it's not right anymore. It's just, no, what was I thinking? Why did I buy this? Either way, the point is things don't always suit you, right? The market goes up and down. Speaking of which, insurance is not based on the stock market. So if you're putting money in insurance products that are not, I should say, in the stock market, meaning, so buying Apple stock, right? Because everybody knows about Apple or Disney, right? I bought some Disney and some Apple stock. You got some good probability of ups when it's all said and done, right? But you also have opportunities for downs. But at least with those two, just those two, you're probably good. But man, the hell are expensive. So you may not have the finances to buy even like one stock of either of those two, because they're very expensive. So a lot of times you need to diversify, because you could like maybe buy two. Well, I mean, two. I got enough money to buy two. So the market is very complicated. There's all these fees, and the people doing it, in their suits and stuff, they want their loot. So, I mean, I'm not trying to say I do life insurance for free. I don't, but I sure do give people financial budgeting and help them put their money where it needs to go per their plan. Now, I'm not telling people what to do with their money. What you do with your money is what you do. But I sure can help you so that you put it in the right places when it needs to be there, right?
Gotcha.
We got those semi-annual fees, right? Like property insurance, personal property here in Virginia. I got a car, so I got to pay personal property insurance, and it's not monthly. Why not? You could, if you're thinking about it, if you plan for it, make that expense monthly, right? So that you put away from your paychecks enough money so that when it's time to pay that, you got it. And don't spend that money. But you would need a plan so that people talk about give every dollar a job. I like to help people give every dollar a job. Well, how can I? I'm not spending it. Well, that's okay. Well, I want to go on a vacation. It doesn't have a job until I go on the vacation. Well, actually it does. Its job is to wait for you to go on that vacation and get bigger. So you got a vacation fund and you put $10 in it this week. And in another week, you put $10 more. And you keep putting enough money in there until it's the size it needs to be. And then you can go on that vacation.
Yeah.
So that's what I help people do. And I personally don't think that you should have to pay for that.
Yeah. You spoken like a true financial, I'm about to say advisor, but professional.
I am a financial planner.
Okay. So now I don't want to get too far off topic, but since we're here, we're gonna get a little technical because you was getting some of your experience right there.
Yeah.
I just want to say, so in your field, of finances and helping people, what is the biggest financial mistake that you have been seeing coming across people that need help with their finances? What is one of the biggest mistakes that they make that you have seen?
Okay.
Like a trend.
I would say, honestly, the biggest mistake I see people making, I'm not even going to front. The biggest mistake that I see people making is the mistake that I made. Because I was a mess. I haven't really talked about who I am and where I came from. I was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. I talked about my mom being a teacher. She was a single mom, and she was raising me and my sibling, my big bro, by herself. And she had a lot to do. She had to manage 2 kids, and we were 2 years apart. So she basically had, sometimes I used to call us twins because I had my growth spurt. And so at one point we were the same height and we looked alike. So, and she had to do all that on her own. She worked multiple jobs and she's just industrious. She's a wonderful gift from God. I love my mama so much. But there was a lot of things that she couldn't share with us. She had to deal with the finances on her own. And that's kind of the idea, is like a lot of people deal with the finances on their own, and there's not a whole lot of that think and grow rich mentality. I don't know if you've ever read that book, Nagasaki, I believe.
No, I
Think and
haven't
Grow
read
Rich.
I think I have read. I think I've read that. Yeah, I think I have.
I'm sure I got his name wrong. Okay, but Think and Grow Rich. He talks about his family dad and his rich dad. So his rich.
Oh yeah. Robert Kiyosaki.
Robert Kiyosaki. There we go.
Yeah. That's one of his.
.com. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. So Robert Kiyosaki talked about that he learned the lessons of like finance and real estate and all the things that he learned about making money from his rich dad. Right? Actually, that's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Think and Grow Rich is Napoleon Hill. Look at me. There we go. I turn my brain back on.
It's all right.
Both very good books, so read them both.
Yeah. Either way, pull the lesson out.
Get it together.
Pull the lesson out.
This is an ADHD brain, so even people who are neurodivergent can do good things. Okay, so just because you're neurodivergent doesn't mean you can't do good stuff.
But I can follow up what you were saying. So one of the main things is unity. So I agree with that. Raised in a single parent home, mother had to do a lot. And naturally, a mother with kids, they're going to struggle by themselves, right? Especially in a world where at the beginning, men made more than women a lot. We're getting there. We're leveling out. I would say that.
Enough.
Okay. I knew you was about to eat me up. But But especially back then, women made less, so naturally that
I hope
family
we're
is
above the
gonna
38 cents on the dollar for African American women. 38 cents.
but that definitely is a big problem. Typically you don't see people united. Somebody could be going through stuff, especially when you bring kids into a
That's correct.
dynamic. You have one person trying to work, trying to take them to some type of schooling event, childcare event, and still cooking, cleaning. It's a lot for one person to do. I
Yeah,
know I love my wife and I love everything we got going because we are united. I couldn't
correct.
imagine having kids, going to work and doing everything that we do by yourself.
Yeah, I mean
So
that's one of the reasons why so many of Gen Z and younger are like, I'm not trying to have no kids. Married? What? Why? They're not even. They're like, no, 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 because they see how much work it was, and I know that I was not going for that. I was like, if there's no husband to help me, I can barely get to work on time. Okay, so I got enough issues with me and my crazy brain. I don't need to bring kids into this mess. So
gotcha.
I didn't do it. And so I'm kind of glad I didn't. I love my cousins and their little kids. I love on them. I want to spoil them. If do I have money? Yup, because I spend it on me. So I will gladly spend it on your kids. And you can take them home when they're acting.
Okay, all right. So again, so unity,
Yeah,
that
it
was the
matters. It really
that
matters. So I would say, in terms of all the bad decisions, it took me a long time to come up with how to ask for help. And I would say, don't be like that. Ask for the help much sooner. Don't be like, well, so now I owe the IRS a lot of money, and this is, a ton of stress, and I I don't know. Don't be like, I don't know. There's help everywhere. There's
yeah.
help literally everywhere. So, and if you don't know, which you probably don't, which is why you're stressing out about it, go ask somebody, you know?
So that kind of went into the next question I was going to ask you. So if someone is, what would you say would be the solution if someone is struggling with their financial situation? What is the most effective way to improve their financial literacy? Figuring out ways to help themselves. What is
Sure.
something, the first thing you would recommend someone to do?
Okay. Well, hmm. I've three ideas popped in my head at once. So I think that when it comes to financial literacy, it really has to do with, you know, take advantage of what's in front of you. So if what's in front of you is someone saying, hi, I'm a financial educator and I help educate people, please call me, visit my website,
Check the
send me
link
an
in the
email,
description.
check the link. I can help. I can help. Um, I would say, oh, to that person.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to because they're your family and you don't want to tell your family all your business, then go find somebody else. But I would say a human is a lot easier than trying to do it on your own. And I honestly think trying to do it on my own is what made it so excruciating for me. Because I was like, I can do this. I can do it on my own. And it just, man, it was hard.
Yeah. It kind of went back to what I was saying with Raymond. Oftentimes people don't want to let you into their bubble. Again,
Mhm.
they want to stay tight-lipped and don't. Again, it's hard to admit that I don't know what I'm doing with money. I need help. I thought I was doing good. I went and got a job, and I still can't pay these bills.
Still can't pay them. Yeah, there's
So it's
more month
time
than
to,
money, which is a hot mess.
yeah. At that
I
point, you
just
need
got
to
a
call your
raise
life
and
coach.
it doesn't matter because I'm still just over broke.
Yeah.
So
One of the biggest
get some
things
help.
that I do see is people don't know how to budget their money.
Really?
People, I know we hear
I
this
didn't.
saying, live in your means, but you need to live below your means. You need to make sure that you have, enough that if something was to go wrong, you would still be okay. I know some people are living right at their means. All they need is one disaster and they need help. They're going
Well,
in
that's
debt.
crazy.
They're
Okay,
going
that one
down.
disaster, that's for the birds. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got lots of programs out there. Like I did the Dave Ramsey's program, me personally.
Okay.
And
You
it
know, I was
helped.
about to. What do you think about it?
It was good. I learned a lot. I did it at a church, not even the church I was attending, but I mean, it was nice and it helped me sort of figure it out. But there were still a lot of things missing, I think,
Yeah.
from it. And it required, frankly, a lot more self-discipline than I personally had. And I needed more hand holding. I really did.
Okay.
So it went far enough, but not as far as I personally needed.
Gotcha.
So I think the people who succeeded the best on that program were married couples. Well, no, couples, right? So people who had a partner, someone to hold them accountable, those folks succeeded. Whether it was me and my sister, best friend, we lived together, we shared the expenses in the house. So we're partnering, or me and my boyfriend, or me and my girlfriend, or whatever, me and my wife, my husband, having a partner, having accountability partners, having that monthly or even monthly is really, I think, all you need. Having that monthly, let's talk about the finances for this month. What are we doing? How's the plan going? Is there anything new going on? And that's, I think, just a way to keep in contact with the people that you live with, right? So yeah, I got this thing coming up. I mean, I think it's really good for anybody who lives with another grown adult to have that kind of meeting where you're talking about, okay, how's the rent, and is everything okay with our jobs, and somebody's family's coming over, so my boyfriend's coming over, can you be gone over the weekend? Whatever might be going on in your family. Go to church, get saved, people. So I'm not gonna trip. I've had my days. I think partnership is unity, as you were saying, is a key to going it without professional help, right? But if you can get a professional who knows what they're doing, and this is what they do, right, then use it. For example, I live in Prince William County, Virginia. And there is a program, which I cannot remember the name of, that is very useful for people trying to get out of debt. And it's not one of those like debt payoff programs. It's literally like a literacy. It's free for the community and you have to sign up for it. And you can go to like pwcgov.org and sign up, whatever. And they will teach you how to manage your finances, right? And at least it used to be. I don't even know if it's still there. So that's another program that can help, right? So that's, right. I mean, so what I'm saying is there's lots of different ways to get help, but that's for people who are just like, my lights are getting cut off. I'm one step away from being homeless, So you have to really be a lot of times at a certain poverty level to qualify for those kind of programs. So if you're somebody who's like, frankly, making too much money, but you still need help, you may not be able to use that program.
Yeah.
So then what do? So this is where, call me.
Oh, yeah. That's what we're here for. Definitely. That's what we're here for. A lot of times, all you got to do is just have a simple conversation with someone. I love just to have conversations with people. And if I can help them in any type of way, I feel accomplished. It ain't like, I know we are in the life insurance business, but just having conversations with someone is still valid. So I definitely encourage anybody that, needs help or if you know somebody that needs help, say, hey, maybe you should talk to, because honestly, if you refer someone feels a little more, okay, I trust you trust this person. So again, just trying to help people, especially if someone is in need.
That is so true. Speaking of which, I have a little thing that I got. We had a special speaker at our event.
Mm-hmm.
He gave us a free copy of his book called The Language of Referrals by Bill Cates, not to be confused with Bill Gates. It's Cates
Okay.
with a C, like Charlie. Anyway,
Okay.
and he was like laying it down how to refer people and how to ask for referrals. So for professionals, asking for a referral is an art form. I didn't know that. So there we go. I learned a bunch about that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So now we did talk about the history of insurance.
Oh, just a little bit.
Little bit about it. Did we cover everything that we wanted in that topic? You
Nah.
talked about the black, because you sent me something and it made me go look it up.
Yeah.
Like I said, you was talking about the first, well, the largest.
The largest. Yes. So
Largest.
this is the largest was in North Carolina, right? It was
Mm-hmm.
called where is it? I love that one. That one's called North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance Company. In fact, it was founded in 1898 and it became the largest owned insurer in the US. So the thing about that insurer is when references to Black Wall Street were made, it was from them. They were what is referred to as Black Wall Street.
Okay.
So I don't know if they had affiliates out there in the Tulsa massacre, because there was also word that they were also part of Black Wall Street. And I don't know if it was just another thing, a lot of different things being referred to as Black Wall Street. I'm really uncertain about that. I was thinking of writing a book about it. I kind of like this idea of the sort of like a mystery. I'm maybe even doing a podcast, because books are a lot, but podcasts can be fun. For example, there is a company called, so let me back up. When I went to typing like first, largest, oldest African-American life insurance companies, I got a lot of different things. And so I had to sort of segment it off, because each area of the country had its first. And if you think of the country in terms of regions, because they kind of had to, I think what a lot of people aren't aware of is that America and many parts of the world didn't look the way it does today back when. So for example, Louisiana was an enormous chunk of the west part of the country, right? It was like Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas. It was just this huge, it wasn't until the Louisiana Purchase happened that things got sort of like divided up and more closer to what we know. That, like, Carolina wasn't North and South. Carolina was just Carolina. And it wasn't, I think, until the Civil War that it became North and South. I could be wrong. I don't remember all of American history with A-plus
You
actors.
got more than me. You remember more than me. I know I don't remember everything. So I'm not gonna
Well, one of the things I'm good at is making a declarative statement and making it sound true. Just ask my family. They're like, that is just wrong. So
okay. So but
I always say look it up. That one, and there was another one that I really liked that at first, when I first started studying it, I thought was the first one. It was called Supreme Liberty Life Insurance Company. And
that's the one I was I think I had ended up looking into. Yeah.
So in 1921, it became Supreme Liberty Life. It was the combination of Supreme Life Insurance and Liberty Life Insurance. And these two African-American men. So I got this from a couple different websites. So the first one, I wrote it down here, was called blackhistoryheroes.com, www.blackhistoryheroes.com. And then another one is called just blackhistory.com, www.blackhistory.com. And oh, by the way, heroes is spelled Heroes. For those of you, a little challenge about do I put an E with it? Because the word hero ends in a vowel. Anyway, Yes, that's my teacher coming out. So,
We need
um,
educators.
yeah. So what I found interesting was that the gentleman who helped found it, there were two gentlemen, one called TK. What was TK's name? TK. I wrote it. I got it in. Where did I put it? That's right. TK Gibson and Frank Gillespie. And so Frank Gillespie actually worked for a, regular, predominantly white life insurance agency. And he felt like, you know what? I see these discriminatory practices and there's not much I can do about it. They won't let me fix it. So he decided to leave and found his own company. He left the company that he was working for and he founded the Supreme Life Insurance Company. And it's basically because the white-owned insurance firms, which if they did offer African-American products, they were inferior policies, and they were often denying coverage. So if there was a claim, they were finding reasons to come up with denying coverage. So he had been working in what Royal Life Insurance called the Department for Colored People. So they had like a separate department, separate but equal. You remember that? So obviously there was this recognition of a need for equitable insurance options for African American communities, but he just said, you know what, I'm going to collaborate with some prominent businessmen in Chicago and I'm going to establish Liberty Life Insurance. And that's what he did. He was aiming to provide better quality life insurance and he wanted to do even more. So, they talk about if you're African American, you not only have to do everything that your white counterparts do, but you have to do it better, more consistently, and often while doing some other things at the same time. That's, what he did when he started that company. So, yeah, that I felt like that was really interesting. But then, so they went from 1921, and I think the thing that really amazed me was looking at a company that had raised like $5 million in 1920 dollars, right? And if you just ask the AIs how much is $5 million today, like $5 million in that year, how much would that be today? Is something like billions.
Yeah.
Which meant that these folks was rolling. And so you see, like I was reading about the story of one of the founders and how they the people in Chicago decided that they wanted to end the Supreme Life Company. So they tried to kill him. They tried to plant a bomb and blow up his house. But he survived and he decided not to ever move out because he bought a big expensive house in a neighborhood predominantly owned by white people. And so because he wanted to prove that he too could live in that area. So it was an interesting back and forth battle, sort of like.
And you were saying you dove into it and you found it interesting that you might want to write isn't that where that came? You said you might want to write about it or a podcast about it?
Yeah, I mean, because it was like the company was going strong and then just suddenly stopped.
Yeah.
They were going strong and served the place. They had a building. It's an actual Chicago landmark right now. The building it was designed by an African American architect named Albert Annis. It's a beautiful building. It was built in 1921 and he was using all black builders, construction, it was amazing what they did to build this building. And so they were in full force, and you can find this story on Black History Heroes about this company. And then in 1962 they were just gone. They closed their doors.
You know what happened? Go ahead and write about it. You know what happened. A lot of times when something is rolling like that for,
I mean, we kind of quote unquote know what happened, but exactly what happened is still a bit of a mystery.
Yeah.
So That's
Oftentimes,
the
and
mystery part
sometimes.
that I would think would be fun to uncover. I use the word fun, and then somehow I feel a little bit sweaty, so might be dangerous.
Uh-huh.
I don't know,
Yeah, yeah,
but
maybe. Like I said,
but you
somebody,
know,
who
I
knows?
think it needs to come to light. It's 2025. So
Okay.
people need to
Uh,
know.
all right, so that does sound like an interesting topic, but since we're on the topic of things that you are interested in doing,
Hmm. Hmm.
so what are you doing currently? Are you doing anything currently that you would like our viewers to know about? Anything specifically? Anything you want them to look out for in the future? What do you got going on for the viewers?
Well, currently I am looking to educate people one on one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, families, even small business owners, we've got wonderful opportunities for what they call key man coverage. So, I think a lot of people don't know that or don't even think like me and my partner, we have this construction company and we're doing great and everything's good. But what if one of you two doesn't come back because there was an accident? Would the company dissolve? If you and your spouse have a restaurant and somebody has a stroke, term life policies can't help you, but universal life insurance policies can, right? They can not double as life insurance, and they can also be used because they come automatically, or in many cases they will automatically come with a rider, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that will allow you to use that, take an accelerated death benefit and use that money for a chronic or other injury, terminal illness, even specific illness like cancer or stroke or something. So we would talk about those options. And the thing is, when things were looking, I guess, not their best in November, it occurred to me that people who weren't billionaires, who weren't in the Billionaire Bros Club, right? Which is almost everybody, because there's
Yeah.
only like a handful of people in that Billionaire Bros Club, needed to focus on securing the bag, right? That is a phrase when I remember the first time I heard the bag and I was like, the what? You mean my purse? What are we talking about?
Securing
But
the
the
bag.
bag is all of your money, right? Not just your purse and, your lipstick, but if you think about your bag that you carry with you that's got all the important things, and that's male or female. A lot of guys carry bags with them over their shoulder or whatever, their backpack
Yeah,
or
backpack.
whatever.
Yeah.
The bag.
The bag.
Secure
Gotta
that.
secure the bag. Okay.
Secure the bag,
I
because
like that.
there are ways to safeguard your money and do with it what you want, not what probate court says should happen, not what the creditors say should happen. And first of all, we should take care of those creditors, okay? So that's why you need a budget, so that you can get those debts paid off. And we have a wonderful program. You can actually use life insurance to help with debt elimination. My mentor down there in Kylie, Texas, works with me to help people get debt elimination plans. And that's not to be confused with a debt consolidation, which is for the most part a scam. So don't do debt consolidation. We're talking about debt elimination, which means
I
you
like it.
pay off the debt. Okay.
I like it. I like it.
You
People don't
take
know
care of
that
your
sometimes.
responsibilities. Yeah, there's a difference. There's a
People don't
difference
know
between
that.
debt
Like,
consolidation and debt elimination. We are eliminating debt. We are paying it off.
yeah.
You
When I
know,
looked into that, I was like, people really go for this. Like, someone just says, "Okay, we'll take care of it," and then they just tell you, "Don't pay your bills."
yep. Don't pay your
What?
bills. How you not
What?
gonna pay your bills?
Just
You
don't
made
pay
those
them.
bills. I mean, listen, the ideal thing, particularly if you're young, is to not get those bills in the first place, right? So, you know how Raymond was talking about trusts and putting things in trust. So, we work with all of those tools and we have partners that help us. See, the thing is, when you partner with people, what you don't know, somebody else does know. And I think that is
Priceless.
what that poor misguided congressman said when he made his stupid statement about the good old days of Jim Crow, right? He talked about wanting the community to be like it was during Jim Crow. And I was like, nobody wants to go back to Jim Crow, idiot. But what we do need is the communities that were put in place at that time, right? the
Mm-hmm.
taking care of one another, okay? Because there are still African American owned life insurance companies. There's like
Mm-hmm.
7 really great ones, right? Black owned insurance companies. And so there's a bunch of them. I think the largest one is called Golden State Mutual Life Insurance Company. And I'm honestly trying to figure out if I can get contracted with them because I would love to
Okay.
sell their products.
Okay.
And then the one I'm really interested in is this North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance Company because,
Gotcha.
the
Okay.
OG, they're the OG.
Gotcha. So that was one of the things that, like I said, they can look forward to get in contact with you. So what is the best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, well, so, you can reach out to me at Andrea.gp. You can see my name, GP, at Imanione.enterprises.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or you can visit my website at clients.imani1.enterprises. Okay.
And all of that is going to be in the description of this video.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys check that out.
Reach me.
Because as you can see, very, 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 very educated. Very educated. Very educated.
Yeah, we take our time, but we also work with our partners to make sure that you get everything you need. So even for those people who, I think one of the things that a lot of folks don't consider is that there are partnerships, and when you work with partners, everybody wins, right? It's really about getting the best service you can get, and that oftentimes means working with multiple people. So if you build a house, you might only ever talk to the general contractor, but that general contractor is going to have a carpenter, a painter, people who pour, and it's not weird. It's not weird that the guy who installs all the electricity doesn't work for that general contractor. He's someone else. He has his own company. And I think a lot of times in the financial industry, you get that same kind of thing. Oh, pardon me.
Bless you, bless you, bless you.
Sorry about that. So, I mean, if you need trusts, we got people attorneys, okay, who can help you with your trusts. And yeah, that's how we work. We work like a community.
Okay. All right. And okay, I've been asking everybody before we get off. I asked everybody, what are two goals that you're looking forward to in 2025? Two goals.
Just any kind of goal.
Any kind of goals. Two
Okay.
goals.
Well, first I'm going to go with my personal fun goal because I'm a big nerd. I don't know if this is a Star Trek uniform. I don't know if I can show my Star Trekkiness. I'm such a nerd. Can you see it, man?
Yeah.
That's from the Next Generation. I love me some Star Trek.
Okay.
Geordi LaForge is my favorite Star Trek character. Gotta love me some LeVar Burton because reading Rainbow and Kunta Kinte. So all of those things, but Geordi LaForge, right? So listen, I want to go to Vegas and see there is this hotel that has a Star Trek exhibity thing there. And I want to see that. Well, it just so happens that First Financial Security is having our national conference in Vegas. So, definitely want to stop by while we're there.
Yeah. That is
Star Trek in Vegas.
Yeah. Okay. So you definitely gonna get that one.
Yeah.
I need another one.
I want, so the goal for me then, because I know I'm going to Vegas, is to have a team of people with me, right? Okay. So I want at least 4 or 5 people who are personally working with me, teammates who are I got goals and dreams, let's go. Yeah. Okay. So that's one of my goals is to build a team and we all head to Vegas together. That would be fun. And
that sounds great. So you need to tell the people too if they want to go to Vegas, join the team.
That's right. So if you want to join the team, you're interested in that, go to agents.imani1. That's Imani ONE .enterprises. So agents.imani1.enterprises. Educator.Imanione.enterprises. Okay, we can talk business.
Join the team. You can
Join
get
the
that too. You can get that too. You can get a team and then go to
Yeah,
Vegas with your
it'd be fun.
team. That would be dope.
It takes work, but our leader, Miss Brandy Bridget, is something else. She is
Beast
amazing.
mode.
She is so driven. She is so on fire, professional. She knows the business in and out. She comes from, like, her father was an insurance agent. She grew up with it. So,
Mm.
I grew up with preaching and teaching. She grew up with people selling insurance.
Gotcha. Good mentor. Great mentor.
She's
All
pretty
right,
awesome.
but still, you need to get one more goal. You gave me one goal.
Okay, that was
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So my other goal is to make, I believe it's called Champions Club.
Okay. Okay.
So Champions Club. I
Doable.
want to get in the
Doable.
Champions Club.
Doable. Okay,
Yeah.
those are great goals. Great goals. And now you just solidified them. So if you don't, well, if at the end of the year you want to remember what you said, you can come back here and see if you
That's
achieved
it
it.
right here. I said Champions
Yeah.
Club this year, 2025. We're
Let's
going to do
go.
it.
All right. So anything else? Anything else before we wrap it up? I think we touched on everything that
I
we.
encourage people to learn your history. Learning, like I said, I feel like the more you know about where you came from, the more I feel like it gives you this drive to go forward. It kind of, finding out about your history, our history, African American or otherwise, I think gives you sort of like a foundation to move forward on. It's like seeing the first Black person get in a spaceship and go into outer space. And then you think, I could do that. Or I don't know why I just love teaching. And then you realize that your grandfather was a teacher and your great grandmother was the principal of a community and you didn't even know anything about that. And how did they even do that back in those days when they were slaves back then, but they still did those things? I just think that connecting with who our family used to be gives us a pride in who we are today, and understanding the strength and the resilience of our communities, every community. I mean, the Chinese community and the African American community work side by side. We were partners in building the railroad system of the United States, and we were partners for a long time. And so when the internment camp thing happened, the African American community really stood strong with the Chinese people, and many African American families took in Chinese children when their parents got snatched. So that's real. That's real history. So I think forging and understanding our history helps us remember our strength and remember where we came from and what we can do, because we made it through some atrocious things. And if they made it through things like even half of the Trail of Tears for all the Native Americans, right? If they made it through the internment camps, if they made it through slavery, if they made it through the hardest of the hard things, then I can probably get through this ridiculous and condescending business board meeting. I can probably make it through. I can study and I can pass this exam and I can pass the bar, I can get my JD. Whatever it is, if they made it, then I can get this bachelor's degree and do something better for me and my kids.
Okay. That is a great way to wrap it up too, because like I said, knowing your history is important. And one of the things that makes me think of is, the word gratitude, right? It makes you feel grateful for what you do have, grateful for being able to do what you can do, because the ones before you, the people and, the generations before you couldn't do maybe even a quarter of what you can do. So you should be grateful. You should
Exactly.
be grateful.
Yes.
All right. So, like I said, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. And
Wrap
thank
it
you
up. 10
again,
o'clock. I gotta go.
Andrea. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for coming up here.
Yeah.
If you guys want to get in contact with her, make sure you check the description, the links. And again, she is someone that would definitely have your best interest because you can tell she cares. All right. And again, thanks for coming up here.
Yes. Thanks for having me. Okay. Bye.